Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. And boy, did we have a show for you today. I have Mr. Mike Brennan here with us, and he is an author to a really good book. Of course, all authors have really good books. And then he's going to be talking about making life and work fun again. It's an interesting topic, and I can't wait to dive in. But really quick, Mike, I want to ask you, out of the past 15 years, how many weddings have you been to?
I want to say probably about seven. I did officiate some, so that's,
Good.
interesting in there. Yeah.
Yes, I have not yet. I went through the class to be able to do that as well. But I'm a wedding coordinator and wedding photographer, so I get like directed for those two things. But I guess, if somebody wanted to get married, I could do that really quick for them. So, but that's cool. So usually, when people go in for the ceremony, whether it's a church or maybe they're doing an outdoor, but the guests have to sign this one thing. What are they signing?
You mean like the guest book?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, Life on Record is one of our sponsors here at Keep Hope Alive. And what they do, instead of having that guest book there, they have a vintage rotary phone that they put out there, and your guests can come in, pick up the phone, and say, "Congratulations on your wedding." And right next to it is a QR code. So you can use your own mobile device, scan that. You can leave a message either before or after the wedding. And then on top of that, once all those messages get collected, and I always say it's the gift of voice. You get to listen back. You don't get that with a guest book, really.
Right.
So, but they will either burn these messages on a 12-inch vinyl record, or they have a keepsake speaker that they can have, and I call it the little boom box. So the phone number, not the phone, unfortunately, but the phone number you get to keep for 1 year. So a little tidbit I would tell my guests that came to the wedding 2 or 3 months prior to your 1 year anniversary, have them call back and say happy 1 year anniversary. But yeah, their plans only start at $99. That's amazing. So to find out more about them, please visit www.lifeonrecord.com. So the biggest question right now is, who is Mike Brennan?
Yes, that is quite the question. I feel like I should lie down on the couch for that. But
Take a nap
uh,
then.
in short, the way that I've been explaining myself lately in terms of my mission and purpose, I guess, if you will, is really a fun and creativity evangelist and advocate. And what that means is that I am all about fun and all about creativity because those things have completely changed my life. And I was the typical artist kid, when I was growing up, making greeting cards for family members and giving them away, seeing their faces light up, and then looking back at that, going like, there's an exchange that happened there. I need to do more of that kind of stuff. I need to do more things that I enjoy and then actually benefit some other people. So, that's what led me into becoming an artist, graphic designer. Through all that stuff, I've had the journey of, like we all do, navigating career, navigating life, trying to figure things out as you go, things not going as planned and having to pivot and all those things. And so, at one point, really just hit a wall in what I was doing career wise and kind of burned out and left my career. Had unfortunate side effect, which was, 10 years in, I was suffering from depression. And
Um,
that actually became the catalyst to bring me back to my creativity and start me back on this path of like, how can I start to engage with that place with me that I had fun as a kid and really enjoyed? Is it possible, first off? And if it is, what can that even look like at this point in my life, especially as I'm trying to get a hold of my mental health at this season? So
mhm.
that's kind of really what led me back into the comeback, if you will, portion of my life, and how I started to just show up every day. I did this daily creative habit that I talk about, and that was showing up every day, creating something. seeing where it leads, being curious, having fun in the process. And that all led into the things that I do now in terms of helping other people really harness the power of creativity, whether it's personal, professional, and also, to have fun in the process and to, as I say in my book, make fun a habit. Because these are things that I've experienced, and I know that I'm not the only one who's having these experiences, these struggle areas, and these thoughts. And so if I can bring them out into the light and have a conversation around them, I think that everybody wins.
Yeah, definitely. So being creative, that's the best thing, even like being in a depression mode. I tell people journal also because
Yeah.
when you are actually putting words on paper, you can do the same actually by coloring. I did
Hmm.
the mandalas, I think they're called,
Hmm.
and I loved it. And then I moved on starting painting. There's a company called Painting with a Twist that I just love. And I was able to express that creative side and it started to bring joy and it was healing for me. But it helped me to see where what I was depressed about and start working on that and changing the way I think and how I can better myself from not making either a mistake from the past and moving
Yeah.
on. But definitely when you're expressing yourself and putting that art out there and being creative, boom, things change in your life. So,
Yeah,
but yeah.
absolutely.
So, with that being said, you said also making work fun again, which is
Hmm.
interesting because I mean,
Yeah.
maybe somebody at work is going through a routine, and that seems to be the same thing. Everybody will start out with their morning coffee probably at work, look at their
Yeah.
emails and go with their lists that they made of things to do for that day. But it's very routine and our brain gets used to it and we're moving over and over and over. So, I mean, how can we make a routine like that even fun at work?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think a lot of people view work as the necessary evil, right? It's the thing that we need to do because we need to live indoors and eat and do all those things, and there's not so much enjoyment. Even if there was a career path that someone chose early on, things can get stale and dry, like you said. And I think this idea of championing just work harder, just put in more hours, just hustle more, is championed so much that that doesn't help things either. Because then
Hmm.
we're sweating and we're not enjoying, and we're like, is this leading someplace? Is this doing something more than just putting money in my bank account that is now going out even quicker because the prices of everything keep going up, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it's important to recognize when you're in that place of going like, I am just either bored with what I'm doing here, or I'm so involved in the sweat equity of what I have to do that there's no more fun, there's no more pleasure. And even as someone who is creative and does creative things for my job, I had found that there were places where everyone has things that they have to do that are not
Hmm.
necessarily fun, that are mundane, that are tasks that if you had the ability you would give it away to somebody else to do, right? And even in those moments there's opportunity to examine them and say, okay, what if this was fun? Like, what would that look
Hmm.
like? And so I think the starting point for all of it is just an openness and an awareness, and asking those questions, being curious, going like, what would this look like if this were fun? Sometimes there are things that we're doing that don't require a lot of brain power. And we can be doing some other things while we're doing them. And so maybe some of the
Hmm.
other activities that we're doing at the same time can be more fun. We see this, even sometimes when we're doing housework or something, right? We're doing some chores around the house kind of thing, and we're putting music on and we're dancing around to it as we're doing whatever. Why couldn't we do that with some of the things we do at work, right? If there are like some lists. Now,
Exactly.
I understand maybe you're in an office environment and you feel a little self-conscious that if you put some music on and started moving around, you'd draw some attention and whatever. But like, figure out the way that you can make it fun and enjoy some of the process, enjoy some of what it is that's happening, Because when you're not looking for fun, the alternate of that is I'm complaining about the fact that this is boring. This is hard. I don't want to do this. And the more that we complain about that, the more we reinforce this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And yet we're stuck in it. So that even brings further frustration. And I think that's when
Yeah.
people find themselves in that place of like, I don't know, I just hate work. I hate my life right now. I hate everything. I just, and instead taking small steps to go like, okay, we're not saying shirk your responsibilities. We're not saying do a poor job. I'm just saying be curious. Invite some
Yeah.
fun into places that maybe don't at face value have fun, and know what your fun is, because
Yeah.
fun for each person is different. Like your fun might be, hey, I love jumping out of airplanes. And I'd be like, hey,
Mhm.
go right ahead. That's not my version of fun, right? So I think it's not necessarily like silly or zany, right? That could be fun. But
Yeah.
somebody else may
Yeah.
look at that and go, that's like, undignified. I'm not doing that. So know your brand of fun, so to speak. And once you know that, do that with intention and purpose and apply it to as many different places and areas as you can. And your attitude, your mindset will lift, and that will invite even more fun and curiosity in the process.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I was at one job and I remember like we would get done in the morning and all the afternoon was open, but it was a small office and cleaning was another option, but if we got that done, it's like, okay, what can we do? But I
Yeah,
remember telling my boss, give me more. I can take it on. I can do these letters, get this and this out.
right.
And then it turned in, "Oh, we don't really need that." And then it became actually boring. I'm not afraid to say this now. It was so boring. I was like, okay, this is like, from noon to 5, it felt wasted.
Yeah,
Like those should be productive hours in my
totally.
eyes, that where we could try to get more business and everything. But
Yeah,
the routine was like you mastered getting what you needed to be done in the day.
right.
So, little by little, like because there was that huge gap, I just brought a book and I read the book, but it didn't feel like work.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when I take jobs, I have to make sure I'm busy every minute because that's how I am. Change it up. It doesn't need to be routine, just be yourself, express what's in you. Like, say you have sales and marketing and you're doing all their social media. Well, I can deliver ABCD on these platforms and see if we can get a different angle. But some people are just not open to new ideas,
Hmm.
like especially in 2024. Like, I mentioned before, hey, podcasts are actually a thing. People's websites are adding links called podcast interviews or just podcasts. And you click it and it goes, this is everybody we interviewed with. And I'm like, that is so clever. That is real good because if I'm going to hire somebody, I would love to see if they got interviewed and how
Hmm.
everything went. It's just a help of buying. So, I mean, I guess, in this year and upcoming years, for the planners and being creative, I mean, do you go to businesses and do one-on-one coaches? Coach, you do.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's a variety of things that I do. I help people on the personal level with some coaching and some workshops and things of that nature, and I have some resources available. And then also, on the business side of things, yes, meeting with organizations, teams, and saying, how can we really make this a part of the process? Because a lot of times I think people think fun is like, okay, that's the weekend, or that's like when I retire, then I'll have fun. Then I'll do the things, right?
Yeah.
And that mentality is still very prevalent today. And the unfortunate thing is, it never seems to come because there's always more things to do. There's always more responsibilities. There's always something else practical to do. And so unless we prioritize for fun, and what I say is like make it part of the process as opposed to just the reward after the process. And in terms of business, some people think like, well, why am I going to have fun at work? Like it's work. It's not supposed to be fun. Or if you're having fun, you're slacking off. You're not doing a hard job. And I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Fun actually means enjoyment. And I
Mm-hmm.
have never talked to a business owner who said, "Yeah, you know what? I don't want my people having enjoyment in what they're doing. I don't want them to experience, engagement at a deeper level. I don't want them contributing more and more meaningful. Like those are the things that happen when you're having fun. You are fully present. You are engaged. You are
Yes.
enjoying what you're doing. And so, can we talk about that as an ROI for fun, if you will, in business, and not just
Mm-hmm.
simply, hey, we had a pizza party and threw confetti and have a foosball table, for an hour on a company retreat or something. Like that, sure, that may be fun and that's a
Yeah.
part of company culture and things that you can do. But I'm talking about like even in processes, I'm talking about even in just how a team functions together, collaboration, innovation, these
Exactly.
ideas, everybody
Yeah.
champions. But the problem is nobody really has anything to do to put in place to make this actionable. And then also
Mm-hmm.
what happens is if they do say they value those things, it always comes further down on the list because it again, it's not practical, it's not efficient,
Yeah.
it's not, like creativity is a bit dangerous, it's a bit
Mm-hmm.
hard to control. And so people who like to measure and control and make sure that you're hitting all the boxes and everything, that's sometimes a little scary for them. It's the
Yes.
creative department, right? Those wild-eyed people are kind of over there doing their thing, and we've hired them to do something and use their creative wilds, hopefully for good, not evil. But
Yeah.
there's like we don't really interact too much because we have different processes and different ways of looking. And I'm like, bring that together. No one,
Yes.
I've never met
Yes.
someone who said, you know what? I'm good with fun. Like I've had enough fun. I'm filled up, right? There's a stat that's like, I think 97% of adults think that fun is important and yet don't experience enough. And this came from Chase Bank's study, I think in like 2020 or something. And just that alone, I mean, 97% of people say that, fun is important. And
It
yet
is.
not many of us do anything intentional to make sure that we're experiencing it on a regular basis.
Yeah, definitely. I worked for a company that it was fun. I mean, my boss took us out to lunches sometimes, but we were all on the same page. We were a team. And yeah, I remember my coworker, what was it? She made fun of me because I love meatballs. So she printed a picture of a meatball and said, "Hey, do you remember this back in the day?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember the meatballs." So, but it was little things like that. If we can sit down at a conference and agree on things and make things work, the the week goes so smoothly. But if you're in a work environment and it has kind of like this negativity in one place, but everything else is positive, ah, we got to work together as a team.
Hmm.
Everybody's ideas are different. We see things different ways, and that's how the ROI gets
Hmm.
to be bigger and better. So on
Yeah.
the outside looking in, you got to have that. It's just
Yeah.
you do. I mean, so that's one of the biggest things. I'm right now looking for a full-time job. Am I scared of AI stuff? Yeah, pretty much. Do I like it? Yeah. But I don't want it to take it over like people's positions of what they do because that personal one-on-one is very important. But
Hmm.
having that, environment and team building, if you're a boss and you have employees that don't feel like they're hearing you're doing a good job. Yeah, that will wear down on the soul. Everybody wants that encouraging word of the week, or
Hmm.
maybe like, good job this week. And, everybody did their thing and, we made this kind of progress. So it's always like positive. If there's a negative, say negative, but follow it with a positive, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, but other than that, I know you're you were busy. I mean, also you're doing this with businesses, but you're also an author. Tell
Hmm.
us
Yeah.
about that journey to get to where you started writing and everything.
Yeah. So I've self-published several books. Most of my previous ones before, Make Fun of Habit were illustrated. And so that for me was more of a comfort zone being an artist, right? I was like, yeah, I'm creating this art. I have this art. What can I do with what else can I do with it? Some of it was a natural progression of a project that was like, I'm going to make this into a book. And so once I learned that process and repeated that several times, it becomes less scary and you're like, okay, I can do this. Great. Now I have these things out there in the world and they're interacting with people. And I was speaking at a conference and um, I was with a friend around his table at his house, and we started talking about this idea of fun. And I was examining these things in my own life and going like, yeah, there are just some places where I really like fun has up and left the building, and I need to figure out how to get that back, and I need to figure out how to be more intentional about that. And so I'm asking myself some of these questions, and then we just started to formulate this idea of this book in terms of like, well, what would this look like? And talk through a framework. And for me, it was intimidating because I'm thinking, okay, I've done illustrated books, and I've written like enough things of like blog posts and social media posts and have gotten some good feedback on things, but there is sometimes settles over you, the imposter syndrome of like, well, you're not a real writer, you're not a real artist, you're not a real whatever. And so it's pushing through that and going like, no, actually, I am, and I'm going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to set myself up for success. So what the formula that helped was, um, we devised a thing where it's basically 30 short chapters, and it's designed so that you can kind of jump into it at any point that you need to revisit it as a kind of playbook, pun on words there. And it's set up so that there's a story, there's an illustration from my life, and some experience that I'm sharing, a bigger theme for the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go into a list of questions that have the reader just examine that in terms of how this fits into their own life and how they can start to think application. And then I end each chapter with an activity and say, okay, now we've talked about this, you've been inspired, great. That doesn't matter unless you actually put this into practice. So here's something to try, here's something to
Oh,
do.
yeah,
So that's what speaks to me, right? I like to be
yeah,
inspired, but if you leave me there with nothing to do, then it just disappears. It's worthless, right?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and so you need that both, inspiration and actionable steps. And so that's how I designed this book, and just giving a lot of different places for people to grab hold of. So if there's one chapter that's like somebody's like, meh, I don't know, like maybe I talk more about music and they're like, I'm not really into music. I don't know. There's another chapter that perhaps that speaks to them more so. So the thought again here is I'm devising this book. I wrote this book in such a way that it's accessible for people, and they bring themselves and their own experiences and their own interests and their own definition of fun to it, and then go, okay, let's start to be intentional with the application.
Oh, nice. I want to read it. Like that
Yeah.
sounds so cool. Is it something, I mean, I know I'll be adding it to our store on keephopealivepodcast.com, but is it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble? Is it
Yeah. So if someone wants to order it directly from me for a signed copy inside the US, then they can go to makefunofhabit.com. There's also free resources there. Like I set up a Spotify playlist, I consider fun music. And
mm-hmm.
then there's a coloring page. You mentioned that before. There's a coloring
Oh
page you can
yeah.
download, color that in. And then there's also something that's there's a thing called Mad Libs where you basically would
Oh
fill in the
yes.
blanks kind of thing. Well, I did my own version of that called Fun Libs, and it's based off of the book, and so people can download that and have some fun with that too. So anyway, all those resources are at makefunofhabit.com, and then also it's available on Amazon as well, and that can be shipped right to you directly from Amazon.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
goodness. That sounds so fun. I remember like with Mad Libs, that was when we were on the road traveling to see
yeah,
family is when we actually did that. But when I go into Cracker Barrels now, I'll see that book and I'm just like, oh, I should just buy a couple,
yeah,
good old times. And I mean, those were fun things. And now technology and kids, they're on their little Nintendo
yeah.
Switches or being active watching TikTok videos and stuff like that. So, but definitely. So, really quick, I'm going to take this quick little commercial break and talk about snap bands really quick. So snap bands, this is what it looks like. Mine says help. And on the other side, if you see the elastic, bam, I hope I have a good day and I feel good. So that's my mantra. But let me tell you all about it. And you know, I love this company so much. I definitely have to read this, but it's going to come from my heart. The world is a stressful place for everyone with work, school, relationships, health issues, finances, the nightly news. There's anxiety every day. Negative thoughts can keep popping into your head over and over again. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of anyone loving me. Bad things always happen to me. If you ever have these types of thoughts, you're not alone. More than 40 million Americans are diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Anxieties, worries, and fears can stop you from finding inner peace and achieving your true potential. You deserve to live your best life. Finally, there's amazing new bracelet called Snap Bands that was invented to help you reduce anxiety, control OCD, and calm stress. Snap Bands are a cognitive behavioral therapy tool based on proven brain neuroscience, and the way Snap Bands works is amazing. Snap Bands bracelet look like a stylish piece of jewelry on your wrist, but its unique design actually hides a secret elastic band that sits right on your inner wrist with its pressure point of your brain's nervous system. When you give that elastic a little tug, you'll feel a very gentle, soft vibration on your inner wrist. A gentle physical sensation is all you need to reduce anxiety. And here's why. Did you know that the human brain can only deal with one emergency at a time? Well, whenever you feel an unwanted negative thought in your head and gently snap the elastic on your inner wrist, it forces your brain to focus on gentle physical sensation you feel, which disrupts the unwanted negative thought from your brain. This gives you the freedom to reset your mind with positive mental focus. The mantra word on your Snap Bands bracelet helps you to refocus and reset. There are sorry, I can't even talk, 7 different mantra words you can choose for your bracelet. Believe, blessing, dream, fearless, hope, love, and peace. Just choose the mantra that resonates most powerfully with you. And after you snap, use your mantra word to immediately reset your positive mental focus with the mantra expression like, I believe in myself. I am a blessing. I am fearless. I will always have hope. We all know the terrible stigma in America that's associated with mental health. The best part of Snap Bands is you can calm your anxiety anytime you need without drawing any attention. It's just stigma free. Snap Bands comes in a lot of beautiful colors. They're so comfortable. You can even wear your bracelet all day long. They're waterproof, so you can even wear snap bands while doing the dishes and taking a shower. And I did find out go swimming too. I'm going to add that in there. They're made from a premium vegan leather, which is attractive and durable. Plus, they're allergy-free, latex-free, and nickel-free too, which is great for everyone with sensitive skin. But what I love most about Snap Bands is their mission to help everybody reduce anxiety stigma-free. They donate a portion of every sale to the leading mental health organization to snap out the stigma. Check out our amazing bracelets at www.snapbands.com. That is SNAPPBANDZ. When you purchase a Snap Bands bracelet, you are helping to make the world a better place. I love that. I love my
Nice.
snapband. I get compliments on it all the
I
time.
think they should add to the words. I want them to have fun, and I have actually right here this friendship
Uh,
bracelet thing that I did at an event, and it says fun. So that's
I
my
like
vote.
fun. I do. And when I was interviewing the owner yesterday, I told him we're missing the word faith. And he goes, wait, just hold on. So I'm waiting to see. But I think
Nice.
fun and faith. I mean, he had what Fearless on yesterday, and that was amazing. But there's so many new ones, and I think he would be open to different words. He really would. So, but anyways, let's see. Going back to you, I mean, so the book, I always ask also about the book, do you have it on Audible? But if you have writing assignments and maybe coloring, you didn't do Audible, did you?
Well, it's funny because I listen to like 90% of books for myself.
Hmm.
So I understand the importance of audiobooks. And that certainly is something that's in the works. There's a little bit more production involved in that.
Yeah.
So, but that certainly is on the calendar to be able to get to that, as well as the ebook version of this. Right now, it is only in hardcover and paperback.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. And I mean, I think some of our guests may ask about the painting behind you too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
artwork
The
is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah. These two pieces are mine. Robert Downey Jr. and then Jeff Goldblum over here. So
Ah,
that
I see
yeah.
it. Wow, just need a dinosaur by him. Kidding.
Yeah.
Very good and very, very creative. I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
So I was looking at when I was talking to you, I was looking at the signature going, is that his signature? Because
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It shows the different parts. Also, learning about the brain. And I know my boyfriend is he's in college again and taking psychology, and he was talking about the neuroscience and everything. I was like, that is so interesting to me. I go, you may be going to college, but you need to teach me what you're learning too. So I'm
Yeah.
just fascinated with how that works and everything. So you also have your own podcast. Tell us about your
hmm
podcast.
Yeah, it's called Creative Chats Podcast. And it is a podcast where I speak with creators and artists and makers and creative business owners, really anyone who's making anything. And I love to just trace their journey and process and story and examine those things in a conversational manner. And I believe that we can learn something from everyone. And so
Yeah.
even if there's someone who's listening who they're a visual artist and they're listening to someone who is a musician who's on, and they're like, well, what they do is different than what I do, but the process, there might be something in there that I can glean, or maybe their story is something that would encourage someone else in a different context. So I really look to find those threads, pull on those threads, and then just follow the story in the conversation. Continue to be curious about it on the podcast and let it unfold as I believe needs to happen, and trust that it will speak to the listeners. And
Okay, well, you
I've
got to
really
interview me.
yeah, I've had a tremendous amount of people who from various walks of life and different fields, and it's always amazing to see how there are themes that pop up, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just a wonderful experience to connect with people like that.
That's so cool. So yeah, it was like I would love to talk about the photography and how I got started with my company because people are like, "What?" When I tell them, I go, "Yeah, that's how it happened." But
Hmm.
I'm not going to share right now or anything. But definitely. And what is the your socials to find your podcast?
Yeah, well, if you go to mikebrennan.me, that's my website. It's kind of the hub where you can find all the things that I do. So there's a link there out to the podcast. That's certainly available on all the streaming platforms like Apple and Spotify, et cetera. And then there's links out to my social media accounts of Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth. And also links to my visual artwork, my graphic design work,
Nice.
and my speaking, and the books, of course.
Oh, wow, definitely. You're a jack of many trades. So have you made any goals for this year going into next year? of what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I think there's always a sense of pivoting and creating, and as a creative person and as an entrepreneur, you know you don't lock into something and then just get static, right? And so the journey for me has continued to be, okay, what are the things that are important to me, what are the things that are speaking to me, and what can I create as far as resources to help other people, right? Because it always has to be on mission for helping people engage with fun and creativity. And so right now, the things that I've been kind of coming around are more community, creative
Hmm.
community, and what that can look like, and more than just one-on-one coaching, but kind of group coaching, or an environment where people can come and really connect. Because I've been, even this past week, I was a part of several different things, some online and some in person. And it was the theme that kept rising up of all the creative people who are going like, I just, I need to connect. And I think even in this post-pandemic world right now, more so because of the time period where we didn't connect, there's this deficit. And so people are hungry for it. And they're like, I'm working remote. I don't have office workers that I'm bumping into, or I'm just not out and about as much as I used to be. And so creating other ways for people to connect like that, that is still meaningful and fulfilling.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I love it. Love it. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like, I mean, just for people to contact you, I guess what is, I mean, whether it's a business or an individual, how do they approach it? Like, hey, I need fun, or I need to change my work ethic. What do they say to you?
Yeah, I mean, it varies, and sometimes it depends on the context, right? Like, so if I'm speaking at an event and someone hears me and they're like, "Oh, you come and speak to businesses, you don't just do events and stuff," and then there's conversation that happens around that, and typically it has something to do with the content that they heard me deliver, right? And so if it was a talk about fun and making fun a habit, and me talking about the importance of that, and again the engagement and the just the fulfillment and the what that leads to, right, in terms of business, people might say, "Hey, we have a need for that," or that aligns with our company values. We would really love to bring you in and talk to our teams, or maybe there's a specific team they're involved with, and they're like, "We have ongoing training, and we would love for you to come." I did one that was actually it was CEOs on this monthly call that they do, and I was invited in to just do this presentation about fun because it aligned with their values and help them think about, okay, where are the other places that we can inject fun into some of the things we're doing and give them a fun experience while having while talking about that stuff. So sometimes it's
Yeah,
that, sometimes it's creativity, right? Sometimes it's, hey, our team is really in need of help with brainstorming, coming up with new ideas
yeah,
and products, and having a system to capture that stuff, and knowing how to set up an environment that's safe and that all people feel heard in that, so that we
yeah,
get the best ideas, right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
so, sometimes again, it really varies why people may want me to come in and talk with them and their teams, and share the experiences and the processes that I talk about. But I'm always happy to engage with people. And, at the end of the day, whether it's personal or professional, I really truly believe that, like, when you're creating, we all win, right? Because when you're creating, you're having fun. When you're creating, you're making something for yourself, but then you're also making it accessible to the world around you, and meeting
Mhm.
needs and bringing joy, and whatever that looks like, everybody wins.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody will win with that.
Yeah.
So I would hire you right now. So definitely. Well, I just, you're so impressive. I'm just like in
Thank you.
awe listening to you and talking to you about all your skills and everything. Definitely. So, I mean, I have a question because podcasters, they can do it pre-recorded or they
Mhm.
can be live. Which one are you with your podcast?
Oh, I'm live. Well, I should say live as far as the conversation, record it and then post it. I don't cast it
That's how I
live.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I let, anybody who listens to this, if they have questions for you or me, they can call in to our number at 833-780-HOPE, which is 4673. So that's something like if any of the people watching today want to ask you a question, I send that tidbit over to you
Hmm.
and we could do it a TikTok or Facebook Live answer. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's something I've been playing with. And now I'm only 46, but people have asked me, are you going to do a live? And I was like, well, I don't know. That means my eyes are bad and I have to look at everybody what their questions are, and I probably need a magnifying glass. So, but yeah, definitely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing everything. So
Absolutely.
I always say, is there anything I'm missing? So you let me know. Am I missing anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so, but I would just leave people with this thought.
Yeah.
Don't let life go by so quickly that you don't take time to ask the questions, to be curious, to be aware of yourself, of what fun looks like for you, and being
Mm-hmm.
intentional in setting that up. And then also in creativity. A lot of people think I'm not creative because I can't draw, can't paint, can't sing, whatever. What they're saying is I'm not artistic. And artistic
Yeah,
is part of creativity, but creativity is so much bigger. I think
it
everyone
is.
is creative. And once someone figures out what their brand of creativity is, maybe it's organizing, maybe it's building things, maybe it's the way that they think and they see the world. Once you identify that, then you be intentional about showing up and using that again and again and again.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that 100%. So, like when I go to karaoke and sing, some people will go, "Oh, I would never be on stage." And I go, "Well, I pretend nobody's really there, and just give it my best and give it my all." Usually people clap, but I noticed something recently. If I'm nervous about anything at all or have anxiety, I'm not going to go up there.
Yeah,
So. But definitely. Well, thank you for being on our show. And
absolutely.
I'm gonna do it.
I said absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So definitely I want to thank our other sponsors that are here on the show. As I mentioned before, we have lifeonrecord.com, your interactive guest book, and then of course snapbands.com, which is spelled SNAPPBANDZ.com. The bracelet that I showed you here, and they're so cool. So far, I've had mine on for a week. I've been giggly and fun, and has it helped me? Yes, it actually has. I'm a pain in the butt. I'll admit that. Like when it comes to things working, I was like, how is it really changing my thought process? But it has. So I'm very happy with the results. But I'll let Michael know that we need to add some words. So, and go from there. Our next one is Ogden Ventures LLC. Marcus Ogden. He is a former NFL player, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. He is also a podcast host. You can find more information about him at www.marcus, and I'm going to spell Marcus. It's MARQUES, and then his last name OGDEN.com. Our next one is bridalshowsinc.com. If you are planning like a wedding or a corporate event, the bridal shows in Dallas, Fort Worth area, you can meet so many vendors, whether it's caterers, DJs, bands, fashion, florists. They're all there to showcase their work. And you can see it and get quotes probably or set up an appointment with them. So check out when their next one is. Our next one is Miles and Smiles Events, Miss Deborah Rose. Her background is she is what do you call? Oh my gosh, I just went blank. Investigator in the past. Okay. But in her events, she does handwriting analysis and lipstick readings, and she's 100% accurate. I cannot believe it. I've seen her in action. She actually came to the office that I used to work at, and she nailed it. I was like, So, I mean, her response and her reviews come back amazing. So, our next one is richmondpunch.net. He graduated from the Juilliard. He's a violinist. He's performed in front of 1 million people before, and I know been in business over 30 years, I believe. And there was two spots on Lifetime shows where he got to play the violin as well. But check him out if you need a violinist. Our next one is Bryce Harney, www.brycemagic.com. Bryce is a magician and mind mentalist. He does a lot of corporate events, church events, and parties. He's amazing. He's been interviewed on TV before, and I say just go on YouTube, type him in, and see some of his work. It's amazing. Our next one is TK Hair Salon, located in Plano, Texas. Guys, women, children needing a haircut, hair color. I know I go there for my grays coming in, and then they do facial updos and stuff like that. So if you ever are in need of their services, go to www.tkhairsalon.com. Wherever you guys find your podcast, you'll be able to find us. And please visit our website at www.keephopealivepodcast.com. I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing your story and everything. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thank-
Pleasure is all
oh,
mine.
you're welcome. Oh, thank you guys. To our next show, Love and Light. Mwah!